Quando vocês escreveram o fim da segunda temporada de Sherlock, que foi essa cena que vocês viram aí, então, tinha um grande gancho para a terceira temporada. Quando vocês fizeram isso, vocês já tinham ideia de que viria um grande ato, vocês se preocuparam em fazer um final tão forte quanto o Sherlock se tacando do alto de um prédio, especificamente por essa demora, ou isso já estava nos planos desde o início? Matar o Sherlock era um dos planos?
Yes, it was. We had I think in a way we always thought that Conan Doyle slightly copped out, as it were, because in the original story Sherlock disappears, supposedly off the waterfall, the Reichenbach Fall, and we thought what we need to do is he basically has to die in Dr. Watson's arms. There can be absolutely no question that he's dead, and then 5 minutes later he turns up and he's still alive. That was our plan. We had absolutely no idea it was going to become an international talking point. But it was thrilling in a way. We got a kind of small version, or a micro version of what happened in 1893, where Conan Doyle was attacked in the street. We were attacked on Twitter instead. But it was amazing how people took it to their hearts and speculated. Which is why when we came to finally do the solution, we knew we had to acknowledge that the entire world was talking about it, really, that you couldn't just immediately explain it because it would be a bit kind of anticlimactic. So that was the reason behind coming up with the whole idea of a sort of fake solution. Well, I think one of the reasons for Doctor Who's 50-year success is that it constantly reinvents itself, like Madonna. And over the 50 years, it's had very, very distinct phases. Obviously, the different actor, but it's like it means the series has sort of license to reinvent itself. It's the obvious time to do it is when you get a change of lead actor, but at the same time, it doesn't always happen like that. Tom Baker's 7 years as the Doctor are very distinctively different. His first 3 years are much darker, his second 3 are much funnier, and his last year is quite somber and odd. And that's just a change of production team, really. So it depends on the people behind the scenes as much as in front.
Há alguma dificuldade em reiniciar a saga do Doctor de tempos em tempos? Como é que é escrever para um personagem, agora do outro lado, como é que é escrever para um personagem que muda de intérprete?
I mean, the most important thing is to always be aware of your audience, and that's why the Doctor's companions generally tend to be modern day Earth people, is they become the eyes and ears of the audience. And then if you've had if you're 8 years old and you start watching with Matt Smith, you're now going to have a big change with a new Doctor, but your 6-year-old brother or sister, Peter, is now going to become their Doctor, and essentially you just have to do it again. It's an interesting sort of template, really, which is followed since it came back, of doing a big outer space one and then a historical story to sort of do the breadth of the stories, and to take the new companion back into the past and into the future, because you're doing it for the audience again, and for anyone who's familiar with the show, you're reaffirming it, and to anyone who's new, you're doing it for the first time. So in a way, that's the sort of that's the template for the whole show, is that every few years you do it for a new audience who are just growing up with it.
De onde você, equipe de roteiristas, tira inspiração para escrever novos plots, novas histórias para Doctor Who depois de quase 700 episódios?
Rio, mostly. Well, it's as I say, it's the same sort of thing. It's partly about reinvention. So that story there, the Dalek story, which I wrote for Matt, his first season, is influenced by a story from 1966, in which the Daleks pretend to be something else. And that story doesn't exist anymore. It was destroyed, sadly. But it's a clever idea. The Daleks sort of pretending to be something other than what they are, and that's 40 odd years ago. So there's nothing wrong with sort of reinventing that idea for a new generation. Equally, the brilliant thing is that there are always new stories to tell. Doctor Who has an incredibly flexible format. In the end, it's about a mysterious alien and his friend in a box that's bigger on the inside, and they can go anywhere, budget permitting. Except Rio, I don't know why. It's only a matter of time.
Qual é a parte, Marcos? Qual é a parte mais difícil de levar à frente um programa que dura tanto tempo, que passou há tanto tempo no ar na TV britânica, né, que traga essas gerações?
Well, I don't know. I think about it more positively. I don't think of it as a difficulty. It's a privilege and it's fun. It's great fun. I mean, I think, to me, one of the big problems about anything which has been going a long time is it sort of develops a kind of carapace of continuity and a fan base which doesn't really want anything to change. And I always think that's a shame, because in the end it sort of slows it down, it fossilizes it. Whereas one of the very exciting things about Doctor Who is you can still just go, well, I know this happened in 1971, but this is a great story, so why don't we try it? And then someone will find a way of making a continuity of it. But the really important thing is to make the story work. It's all about story. So it's exciting to sort of think about an incredible future where the world is underwater, or we've all conquered space, and just all the myriad possibilities, really. I think the only time you ever get bogged down in it is if you start to think too much about what's gone before, actually try and think about it afresh. And I didn't think like that when I was a kid, but I think to me that's the really exciting thing about a show like Doctor Who. I mean, with Sherlock, again, there's a whole world to play with, because there are 60 stories, original stories, but we use little bits and pieces of them, and we brought in Sherlock's parents, which is, I don't think has ever been done. So we're already sort of broadening it out a bit, and it means you can sort of play with more bits and pieces, really.
And who was your doctor?
John Pertwee was my doctor, the third doctor. I loved him, distraction, and when he left I was bereft. I never got over it, actually. But I think that's that's how it works. That's the thrill of it, really. And then someone else comes along and it's just all changes again. It's great.
So now you understand the fans of the show.
Yeah, well, I am a fan of the show, so of course I understand. Yes. She speaks English. I've been had.
So I was speaking Portuguese again, sorry. Na sua opinião, quais são as diferenças entre escrever para a TV nos anos 60, quando o Dr. Who estreou, e escrever para a TV agora, nesse momento, com internet, Netflix e, enfim, essas coisas?
Well, the obvious difference is that those shows were made to be watched once, if you were lucky, and then they just vanished. That's why so many 60 shows were destroyed. They literally reused the tapes. So now we live in a massively scrutinized age where everything is examined. One thing I really can't stand is when you realize that people have been watching your show that you've been slaving over for years, and they're tweeting about it as they're watching it. Okay, it's a bit slow. This bit's a bit, I like this bit. And it's crazy. You just think, well, you could watch it and then talk about it. But I think it's very exciting because it's a totally different world. I was watching House of Cards on the plane here yesterday, which I haven't managed to see, and I just watched 5 episodes straight off. I felt a bit sick, actually. Too much television. And I'll probably watch the rest on the way home, because it was addictive. And it's amazing to think it's accessible like that in a Netflix kind of way. And something interesting has just happened in Britain. There's a series called Ripper Street, the BBC did, which they did 2 seasons of, and it was cancelled. And now Amazon have picked it up. Amazon are going to make it, and then show it first, or stream it, and then the BBC will show it 2 months later. It's the future, and I'm afraid of it. But this is exciting. It's just a totally different world where the primary broadcaster is not in the same position anymore. It's really interesting. So that's good news. All we have to do now is make them. We've planned Series 4 in quite a lot of detail, and it's big stuff. And Doctor Who, I've seen a little of Peter Capaldi's first episode. He's absolutely fantastic. It's a whole new world. It's very exciting. And he is, as I say, a sort of more dangerous and unknowable figure, which is really exciting. But I can't really give anything away, obviously. If I did, I'd be crucified. I'll take some questions from the audience if you want to. Anyone have any?
I have a question. I would like to know about the...
Heavens, the Betsy!
Sorry, I would like to know about the 7th circle of delivery hell. I would like to ask you about the 7th circle of delivery hell.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about. 2.5 single-spaced pages of the stream of conscious monologue to be blurted out at lightning speed. Words of Nicky Lauda, James Hunt, and Harkinson, and rolled up in one on steroids with rocket fuel in the tank. Plus, hit the mark where are the cameras, look at the right angle, and speak without thinking. Cumberbatch cannot think, but he has to take a breath on very specific moments, lest he use up all the air he has in his lungs in mid-sentence. And how do you shoot it? How many cameras do you have? How many takes are usually necessary? And how long does it usually take to shoot one of them and nail to the wall? That's it. Thank you.
Next question. Why do you think it takes 2 years? Well, it's very time-consuming. It's very difficult for Benedict to learn those huge speeches. So it takes as long as it takes. It's very, very labour-intensive. The important thing really to remember is that unless it's a very big block in which he is speaking all the time, you can break it into little bits and pieces. But obviously part of the thrill of what Sherlock does is that he does it like that. But it's not easy. But it takes about 2 years per scene, which is why it takes so long for the show to come out.
Gente, infelizmente a gente não pode abrir para mais perguntas. Na verdade, a gente deveria estar aberto para nenhuma. Nosso tempo está acabando aqui. Vamos fazer mais umas perguntinhas. Desculpa, não é culpa minha. Não me matem. Nada a ver com isso. Mas, Mark, alguma chance de algum dia, em algum lugar, Sherlock Holmes e Dr. Who, as histórias se encontrarem de alguma forma?
No.
Well, I don't understand this personally. I don't understand the desire for it. Principally because if it happened, that would be that, wouldn't it? And then what would everyone talk about?
Is there a chance that Sherlock and Dr. Watson could come to Rio, for example? Because there are many who...
That's much more likely.
Let's cheer for that.
Well, I suppose the only thing you've got to be wary of is the traditional problem of it just looks like you're going on holiday. We're always talking about, Martin particularly talking about, especially in the middle of Welsh winters, why don't we do one called Death in a Room, or The Warm Murders, the Sunshine Killings, things like that. Yeah, but I think there's always a danger if you look like you're just coming on a jolly holiday to Rio, which is what I've done. That's why I'm here. Yeah, but who knows? It's funny, actually, it's rare for a Sherlock Holmes story to leave London, Dartmoor for having the basketball. So I'm not quite sure if it feels right abroad.
But there are some other movies, long movies that they go to New York and there's even that movie where they hit streets with a Freud.
Yes, 7% solution, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure they work in the right way because Sherlock is then out of his element. Also, if Sherlock came to Rio, what would he wear? We tried to make a lightweight version of the coat because we shot the second series in the summer and it was very warm, or warmish, not warm like here. And it just didn't work. It was awful. We just abandoned it. So we had to go back to his winter coat. So if Sherlock came here, he'd have to wear a Hawaiian shirt or something. He'd look awful. If he wore his big coat, he'd look like a fool. So,
but there's a lot of crime here, I can guarantee.
Bom, o Mark, a porção ator do Mark vai estar na próxima temporada de Game of Thrones. Que presta de abril. O que você pode falar sobre Game of Thrones, Mark? O que você pode adiantar pra gente? Além de sexo, mortes, cavalos.
Obviously not. I feel like a war criminal. I'm not allowed to say it. I play a character called Tycho Nestoris, who's the leader of the Iron Bank. I'm in one episode, and then I'm apparently coming back later on. I think the character is in the books later on, has been brought forward. I know very little, I can't really say, without giving anything away. So it's the usual. I take the Fifth Amendment, usually. But it's very exciting. I had a lovely time. It was only 3 days with Ian Cunningham and Stephen Delane. It was lovely. And it's a vast operation. I actually got lost coming back from the makeup truck because there were 3 units running at once, and there were so many white caravans. I said, "No, I'll be fine." I came back and went absolutely lost. But it's very exciting, very great privilege to be asked to do it.
Bom, você também já escreveu comédias, né? Apesar de ser mais conhecido por um drama e uma ficção científica, você já escreveu comédias. Quais, para você, quais as principais diferenças entre escrever drama e comédia e por que você está mais no drama hoje em dia?
The big difference is jokes. Well, I am focusing more on drama, but that's not to the exclusion of comedy, because I think it's an artificial delineation. There is a huge amount of humour in life, and the idea that a drama has to be sort of incredibly serious and grim is a mistake. I was just saying earlier on in an interview, I was watching Man of Steel on the plane. I watched lots of things on the plane. It was a long journey. Watching Man of Steel, the Superman film, which I hadn't seen, and I quite liked it, but I couldn't believe how po-faced it was. It's so serious. And it's Superman, it's a comic. It's a great comic, but it's a comic. And I thought that was a really good example of taking something too seriously. It's, and one of the principal things with Sherlock, particularly, and Doctor Who, is that there's always been a lot of humour in it, because that's what makes good drama. It's light and shade. Equally, the comedy I'm most well known for, The League of Gentlemen, was always deliberately very dark, so that amongst the laughs there was a lot of pathos, a lot of sadness, because that's the sort of stuff we found funny and we like to explore. So I think it's an artificial delineation, really. You should have a lot of both in everything you do.
Bom, gente, nosso tempo acabou. Queria agradecer a presença do Cláudio aqui com a gente hoje.
They know who I am. Breakfast at the commissary. Then it's time to get serious. Make with the funny. Cause we're animated. Start with the premise, just a page and a half. We pitch it in the writer's room, see if we laugh. Then we check on the executives, a spree the call. She says, yeah, we're gonna act like it's one page more. Productions go to script from here, but not us. Oh no, we got no feeling on the screens and boards. Cause we draw it when we write it, it's a visual show. And we don't try to fight it, cause we're animated. We're making Phineas and Ferb, never animated. The whole crew see it, then it'll do. Or if they just throw it through, sometimes it's funny, special sometimes it's very amusing. Are there any questions? So.